Well, welcome to the 700 Club. Are you getting tired of hearing about James Comey, former director of the CIA, of the FBI? Well, he's going to say, well, I can't answer those questions because I'm now a private person. Well, I can't answer those questions because I'm a former FBI director, and that's classified. I'd like to answer that, Mr. Senator, but that's the kind of stuff we're going to get tomorrow. It's going to be a dance. He ought to be in ballet instead of in the government. But nevertheless, President Trump made his own headlines today by naming his nominee to replace Comey as the new director of the FBI.
Yes, indeed. The president and Republicans in Congress are also moving ahead with important measures to help America, replacing and repealing Obamacare and cutting taxes. George Thomas has that story.
The president says he'll nominate a former Justice Department official as the new FBI director, tweeting this morning that his choice, Christopher Wray, is a man of impeccable credentials. Wray was the chief of the Justice Department's Criminal Division from 2003 to 2005, and he was a member of the Bush administration's Corporate Fraud Task Force. Wray will have to be confirmed by the Senate. And the president is promising the American people that his administration is still working on health care legislation and tax reform. And he met with Republican leaders Tuesday as they keep pushing to get their goals passed into law.
So we're working very hard on massive tax cuts, and we're working very, very hard on the health care. And I think we're going to have some very pleasant surprises for a lot of people.
For months, the president's agenda has been pushed out of the headlines by investigations into Russian interference in the 2016 elections and questions about collusions with the Trump campaign.
I just think if we don't get to the bottom of what's going on and what's happening, we've talked about the Russians, we've talked about money, there's all sorts of stuff going on here.
He's become more famous than me.
On Thursday, former FBI Director James Comey will testify on Capitol Hill, making his first public comment since being fired by the president last month. ABC News says Comey will stop short of accusing the president of trying to obstruct justice.
Obstruction of justice would only be an actual crime if someone was looking to gain a benefit from it. The problem here is that we have President Trump acting like he does with every other business deal, just acting like he's one of the guys trying to get something from one of his buddies. I'm sure that's the way he was talking to Mr. Comey.
Thank you, Peter.
Still, the Russian probe has caused divisions within the administration, with the president reportedly still upset that Attorney General Jeff Sessions decided to recuse himself from the investigation. ABC also claims Sessions offered to resign because his relationship with the president had become so tense. Still, as Washington prepares for Comey's testimony, the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee says so far there is no proof that President Trump had any connection with Russia during the election.
There is a lot of smoke. We have no smoking gun at this point, but there is a lot of smoke.
While the Comey story remains in the headlines, Republicans on Capitol Hill have been working with people from the White House on moving ahead on repealing and replacing Obamacare and reforming the tax code. The economy was the top issue in the election last year, and the Trump team and congressional Republicans are hoping to cut taxes for both businesses and individuals to finally get the economy out of the doldrums it's been in for several years. George Thomas, CBN News.
Thanks, George. Well, what is called Obamacare is collapsing all over the country, and Ohio is another state where it's being hit hard because Anthem is pulling out of selected counties in Ohio and leaving the people with no insurance alternative. John Jessup has this story.
That is right, Pat. One of the nation's biggest health insurers says it won't be returning to the public insurance exchanges in the Buckeye State next year. That decision could open more holes in Obamacare's increasingly thin system to help people buy health care coverage. Anthem's move could leave people in 20 counties without an option for buying individual coverage. Insurers have pulled out of other states as well. Well, in recent appearances, Hillary Clinton has blamed former FBI Director James Comey, Vladimir Putin, the Democratic National Committee, and the news media, among others, for her defeat in last year's election. But a new book shows what really went wrong with her White House run. Jenna Browder talked with one of the authors of Shattered, Inside Hillary Clinton's Doomed Campaign, for the Inside Story.
There's another revealing moment when Hillary says, and this is a quote, "I don't understand what is happening with this country. I can't get my arms around it." that really hits it on the head.
I know, it's almost like you could just read that and know what happened.
A campaign plagued by confusion and chaos.
She had lost in New Hampshire to Bernie Sanders by 22 points. If you're going to be the nominee of a major party for president, losing a primary state by 22 points does not look good. It doesn't feel good.
This would become a theme for Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. In their new book, Jonathan Allen and Amy Parnes lay out in compelling detail what went wrong. It all begins with Clinton's infamous email server scandal.
In addition to that, you've got this issue where she had trouble articulating a message. Her speechwriters couldn't do it for her. They needed to know why you, why now? Which is the question that any presidential candidate must be able to answer.
Allen recalls a former Obama speechwriter quitting before the campaign even got off the ground.
He basically threw his hands up in the air and said, I can't do this. There's no real clear plan here, and there's no organization of this group, and the speech is lackluster.
There was also heavy infighting between senior staff members. Allen describes how it pitted the young with Robbie Mook pushing data and analytics against the experienced like John Podesta and Bill Clinton, who leaned on tradition.
So all these groups were sort of jockeying for power, and the lines of authority weren't very clear. And it even got to a point in fairly late in the campaign, in I think June of 2016, where they had a senior staff retreat, and John Podesta stands up in front of the entire senior leadership and he says, Robbie, the campaign manager, says, Robbie is passive aggressive and I'm just aggressive. And there he's explaining this tremendous tension between the two of them the entire time that's been going on.
These revealing moments seem almost non-stop, with some of the most shocking unfolding on election night. Allen writes about the reluctance to concede and the moment Hillary knew it was over and had to take that dreaded phone call.
And Huma Abedin, her top personal aide, comes up to her with a phone in hand and says, it's the president. And Hillary Clinton just visibly recoils, winces. She doesn't want to take this call. It's really the moment of reality where the president is calling the losing candidate as a consolation. And it hits her. She's let herself down. She's let her party down. She thinks she's let the country down. And she thinks she's let Barack Obama and his legacy down. So much at stake in this election. She takes the phone. She walks toward another room. And she says, Mr. President, I'm sorry.
A crushing moment for the woman who had effectively been pursuing the White House for more than a decade. Allen says many things contributed to her shattering defeat, but at the end of the day, she had no one to blame but herself.
It is a much bigger story than Jim Comey or the Russians or the media or even misogyny, which she talks about as well. This was a perfect storm, and the biggest factors in that perfect storm were self-inflicted wounds.
In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Thanks, Jenna. Well, turning to health news, if you're looking for an exercise that helps you age well as you get older, you might want to consider resistance training like lifting weights or exercises using your own body weight, like push-ups or pull-ups. Resistance training can help build muscles, which has several benefits for the body. Time magazine points out it can help fight off problems like diabetes and inflammation, which is an important risk factor for heart disease and other conditions. And one expert told the publication resistance training also helps with bone strength. The good news is you don't have to lift heavy weights either. Just light weights can do the job as long as you work your muscles to the point where they're almost ready to give out. Pat, ready to hit the gym?
I hit it yesterday, thank you very much. And I will hit a horse today, and I will hit the gym probably tomorrow. But, you know, I'm a fan of the Total Gym, and the Total Gym is a resistance device that uses your weight and a set of pulleys. I mean, it's just a great device. You got about 60 or 70 exercises. So,
how many sit-ups did you do the other day? You were telling me
210
without stopping.
Without stopping.
210 on a bench, on an incline.
Yeah, well, I was on a flat bench and with my knees locked. I mean, my legs were locked down.
I can't remember the last time I've done 210.
Well, you just keep on going. I could have gone more. I just decided I'd had enough. but,
87.
Yeah,
people
keep on going.
Putting us all to shame.
Keep on going.